When a billionaire's daughter dared to love a poor street vendor, their forbidden romance shook the walls of power, pride, and tradition, because some love stories are written by destiny, not wealth. In the heart of Victoria Island, Lagos, stood the Grand Pearl Mansion, an architectural marvel draped in wealth, tradition, and secrets. Its marble columns stretched to the sky like proud ancestors watching over generations. Inside, golden chandeliers sparkled, reflecting off polished floors where maids moved swiftly and silently. This was the world of Zara Okonkwo, daughter of Chief Obina Okonkwo, oil magnate, political influencer, and one of Nigeria's wealthiest men. Zara, 22, was a graceful blend of beauty and rebellion. Her skin was smooth, like well-pounded yam, and her hair flowed in tight curls that bounced with her every stride. Despite her royal upbringing, she yearned for a life beyond lavish galas and forced business meetings. She wanted freedom, meaning, love, not the kind arranged through political alliances, but something raw and real. On this hot afternoon, Zara stood by her balcony, gazing at the distant rustling trees and the busy streets. Her father's voice echoed from downstairs. He was entertaining governors again. She sighed. Her heart ached for a different rhythm, one that didn't come with security details or designer labels. She didn't know yet that the rhythm her heart longed for had a name, and that name was Ebuka. Miles away in the bustling neighborhood of Mushin, 24-year-old Ebuka maneuvered through crowds with a bag of roasted groundnuts slung across his shoulder. His hands were rough from years of hustle, his feet calloused from walking barefoot as a child. But his eyes, bright and full of dreams, never stopped searching for a better life. Ebuka was no ordinary street vendor. He was intelligent, a university dropout who sacrificed his education to support his sick mother and younger siblings. His pride was his honesty. Even when temptation came, he chose the harder path of dignity. Many mocked him, calling him local boy, but he carried himself like a king without a crown. On this day, his usual path led him past the edge of the city's wealthiest estate. He often admired the mansion from afar, imagining the people inside. He never expected anyone from that world to notice someone like him. But fate had other plans. Zara's boredom pushed her out of the mansion for a rare solo walk, flanked by just one reluctant guard. She insisted on walking, not riding. As she strolled past the estate's outer gate, a gust of wind swept through, blowing her silk scarf onto the street outside. Ebuka, who was passing by, saw the scarf flutter like a lost bird. Without thinking, he ran and caught it just before it touched the ground. He looked up and their eyes met. Zara's breath caught. There was something different about him. Not his torn shirt or dusty feet, but his steady gaze, his calm, confident posture. Ebuka handed out a scarf with a respectful nod. "I think this is yours, madam," he said softly. Their fingers brushed. For a moment, the world went quiet. Two people from completely different worlds connected by a piece of cloth and the invisible string of fate. After their brief encounter, Zara found herself thinking about the stranger with the gentle eyes. The way he had spoken, softly, without fear or greed, lingered in her memory like a song she couldn't forget. Back inside the Pearl Mansion, she sat by her window, watching the street where it all happened. She didn't even know his name. Meanwhile, Ebuka also couldn't shake off the image of the beautiful young woman. Her skin glowed like fresh papaya under the sun. Her poise reminded him of queens from folk tales his grandmother once told. He didn't think someone like her would even remember a common groundnut seller. But Zara did remember. The next day, she sneaked out again, alone this time. Disguised in a plain Ankara dress and oversized sunglasses, she returned to that street, hoping for another glimpse. Luck was on her side. Ebuka was there again, arranging his goods on a wooden tray. When she approached, his eyes lit up in surprise. "Ah, the scarf lady," he said with a smile. Zara laughed. "And you, the groundnut hero." They exchanged names, Zara and Ebuka, and with that, a small seed of something sweet began to grow between them. Back at the mansion, Zara's absence hadn't gone unnoticed. Her father, Chief Obina, questioned the guards but received vague answers. He dismissed it, assuming his daughter had gone shopping. But his wife, Madame Nena, knew her daughter's heart. She could sense something had changed in Zara's aura. Zara, meanwhile, kept finding excuses to visit Ebuka. Sometimes she claimed she was researching street business for a school project, but really it was Ebuka's voice, his laughter, and his genuine concern that drew her back. They would sit under the shade of a mango tree and talk for hours about life, music, dreams. Ebuka learned that Zara wasn't just a billionaire's daughter. She was a prisoner of expectations. Zara learned that Ebuka wasn't just a poor boy. He was a man of deep thought and even deeper love. But in a society where class lines were drawn like carved stones, their closeness was already a dangerous game. One afternoon, while Zara sat laughing beside Ebuka's stall, someone was watching. A nosy neighbor, Madame Ruth, who lived near the estate walls, recognized Zara. She didn't know her personally, but she had seen enough gossip blogs to know the billionaire's daughter when she saw her. That evening, Madame Ruth posted a blurry photo on social media with a caption, "Billionaire's daughter mingling with street boys? What is Nigeria turning into?" The post didn't go viral yet, but whispers had begun. Ebuka saw the post from a friend's phone. His heart sank. He knew how fragile Zara's world was and how easily it could be turned against her. He feared for her, not himself. When he told Zara, she brushed it off with a smile. "Let them talk. I'm not ashamed." But Ebuka wasn't smiling. He looked into the distance, a heavy storm brewing behind his eyes. "Zara," he said, voice low, "they will not let us be." She reached for his hand. "Then let's fight the world together." The days that followed were painted with hidden smiles and secret meetings. Zara had never felt so alive. Her designer wardrobe meant nothing compared to the simplicity of Ebuka's world. He showed her how to roast on by the roadside, how to catch raindrops with her tongue, how to laugh without watching her back. But inside the Pearl Mansion, trouble brewed. Chief Obina had begun suspecting something was wrong. Zara was dressing simpler, living without her usual entourage, and her laughter had changed. It sounded freer, less rehearsed. He instructed his private investigator to trail her discreetly. Meanwhile, Madame Nena tried to confront her daughter. "Zara, who is this boy I keep hearing about?" Zara hesitated. "Mama, he is different. He's kind. He listens. But he is not one of us," Nena warned. "This world will eat him alive. And you too." Zara held her mother's gaze. "Then maybe this world needs changing." It was the first time mother and daughter stood on opposite sides of the same dream. Ebuka didn't expect the black SUV that pulled up beside his stall that evening. 4 men in suits stepped out. One of them, a tall man with a stone face, handed him a white envelope. "Chief Obina sends his regards," the man said, coldly. Inside the envelope were bundles of fresh naira notes, a bribe, a warning, a wall. Ebuka stood frozen, heart pounding. Tell your chief I don't want his money, he replied, forcing the envelope back into the man's hand. The man chuckled. You're not as smart as she thinks. Walk away now, or you won't walk again. That night, Ebuka didn't sleep. His mind warred with itself. He wanted to protect Zara, but he was also beginning to understand what they were up against. Not just class, not just pride, power. Zara came to see him the next morning, dressed plainly, excitement in her eyes. But Ebuka wasn't smiling. His stall was half packed. His eyes were red rim. I can't see you again, he said suddenly. Zara's smile vanished. What? He didn't meet her eyes. This is not your world, Zara, and I don't belong in yours. She reached for him, but he stepped back. Is this about the money? She asked, voice trembling. No, he lied. She turned and walked away, slowly, tears burning down her cheeks. She didn't look back, and Ebuka, heartbreaking, didn't call after her. But deep inside, they both knew this wasn't the end, only the beginning of a war neither of them asked for. Chief Obina was livid. The report from his investigator had arrived, complete with photos of Zara and Ebuka under the mango tree, laughing, talking, touching. His pride as a father and as one of Nigeria's richest men felt bruised. To him, it wasn't just love, it was scandal. How dare she disgrace his family with a street rat? He thundered, slamming the report onto the glass table. Madam Nena tried to calm him. She is young, Obina. Maybe it's just a phase. But Obina wasn't listening. That boy could ruin our future. My business partners already whisper. That night, he summoned Zara into his study. The room smelled of old books, cigars, and power. He didn't raise his voice. Instead, he spoke coldly, the way generals do before war. You are not to see that boy again. Zara raised her chin. I love him. Chief Obina blinked. Then you're no longer my daughter. The silence that followed was louder than thunder. Zara stood tall, but inside, her world crumbled. For the first time in her life, her father's wealth felt like a curse, not a crown. While Zara battled her family, Ebuka faced demons of his own. That night, dogs stormed his store. They didn't speak, they just shattered everything: wooden crates, peanuts, glass, bottles. One of them whispered, next time, it will be your bones. Ebuka fought back tears as he cleaned the debris. He knew where the message came from. His friends told him to give up. Forget the girl, Ebuka. Love doesn't feed your siblings, it doesn't cure your mother. But love had already planted its seed in his heart, and like cassava in dry soil, it refused to die. Zara tried to reach him, but he'd stopped answering her messages, not because he didn't love her, but because he didn't know how to protect her anymore. Even love, he was learning, comes with a price. Madam Nena was no fool. She had once loved a man her father disapproved of. Too, that man had died in an accident before they could marry, and Obina had been the one to introduce her to power and protection. But she had never forgotten what true love felt like. Quietly, without her husband's knowledge, she arranged a meeting with Ebuka. They met in a small church office. She looked regal in her gold wrapper, yet her eyes were soft, motherly. I want to know if you love my daughter, truly, she asked. Ebuka nodded, words caught in his throat. Then fight, she said. Don't let wealth scare you. Don't let fear silence you. She handed him a card, an invitation to a gala happening at the mansion in 2 weeks. Come, she whispered. Let the world see what courage looks like. Ebuka looked down at the card. The war had just gotten real, and this time he was not backing down. The night of the Pearl Mansion Gala arrived like a roaring storm. The estate was drenched in extravagance, flashing lights, luxurious cars, clinking glasses. It was an annual event where business tycoons, politicians, and celebrities mingled under chandeliers while African highlife music played softly in the background. Zara stood on the grand staircase in a glittering royal blue gown, her beauty so radiant that even the cameras paused to capture her every move. But inside, her heart pounded with nerves. Would he come? Suddenly, a murmur spread through the crowd. A young man walked in, not in designer clothes, but in a perfectly pressed native kaftan, his shoulders straight, his eyes focused. It was Ebuka. He didn't blend in, but he didn't shrink either. Guests stared, confused. Some laughed. Chief Obina narrowed his eyes. But Zara, her eyes welled up. She stepped down the stairs with slow grace, her heels clicking like drum beats of fate. When she reached him, she didn't wait for permission. She embraced him, boldly, publicly. Gasps filled the air like falling rain, and Chief Obina stood, frozen. The tension inside the hall thickened as Chief Obina made his way toward them. Every guest turned, whispering. Obina's jaw was clenched. Zara held Ebuka's hand tighter. What is the meaning of this? He demanded, voice low but seething. Zara looked him squarely in the eye. It means I'm not afraid anymore. I love him. Obina's gaze shifted to Ebuka. Do you know who I am? Ebuka's voice was calm. Yes, sir, but I also know who I am, and I won't apologize for loving your daughter. Obina scoffed. You think love is enough? You don't have pedigree, power, or position. Ebuka nodded. Maybe not, but I have integrity. I have a vision, and I have her heart. Madam Nena stepped forward. And he has my support. Obina's eyes widened. You once fought for me too, Obina, she reminded him. Have you forgotten? The guests began to murmur in support. Some even clapped softly. Obina saw it. He was losing the room and maybe losing his daughter. Without a word, he turned and walked out. The gala ended with whispers of rebellion and romance echoing through the walls. Zara and Ebuka stepped outside into the warm Lagos night, free for the first time. They walked together under the moonlight, past fountains and gardens, ignoring the luxury behind them. It wasn't the mansion that mattered anymore, it was the moment, the choice. You still want this? Ebuka asked. Zara smiled. I never stopped. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny black box. Zara's eyes widened. Ebuka didn't kneel. He didn't have to. This is not a proposal for marriage, he said. It's a promise that I'll build the kind of life that deserves you. She took the ring. And I'll wait for no crown because you, Ebuka, are already my king. The fire of rebellion had turned into a flame of freedom. But the journey was not yet over. Weeks passed. Ebuka returned to Mushin, but things had changed. His tall, once mocked, now drew attention. People whispered, that's the boy who stood against the billionaire. Some admired him, others envied him. But Ebuka didn't care about fame. He wanted a future. With the little savings he had and quiet support from Madame Nena, he started a small food cart business, selling roasted plantains and spiced suya. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. Sarah began visiting again, this time openly. She wore no disguise. The first day she served customers beside him, holding a tray of puff-puffs. A crowd gathered in disbelief. The billionaire picking be this, someone whispered. But Zara smiled through the heat and smoke. She was learning to live without luxury, and finding joy in simplicity. I love this, she told Ebuka, wiping sweat from her brow. This feels real. He looked at her, heart full. This is just the beginning, my queen. Meanwhile, Chief Obina sat in his office watching the news. A reporter showed a clip of Zara and Ebuka's roadside suya stand, praising their courage and humility. His phone rang endlessly. Some clients mocked him, others admired his daughter's strength. For the first time, Obina began to question everything. What legacy was he really leaving behind? Madam Nenena entered quietly. You're losing her, she said, not because of him, but because of your pride. Obina's hands trembled. He thought about his own youth, how he'd clawed his way out of poverty and sworn never to return. To him, Ebuka represented a threat to all he'd built. But maybe Ebuka was also a mirror. That night, Obina stood on the mansion balcony, staring at the stars, and for the first time in decades, he didn't feel powerful. He felt alone. One morning, Ebuka found a sleek black envelope on his cart. Inside was a formal invitation from Chief Obina. Zara's heart raced. He's calling you to the mansion? Ebuka nodded. Do you think it's a trap? I don't know, but maybe it's peace. That evening, Ebuka walked into the Pearl mansion again, but this time not as a trespasser or an embarrassment. He was greeted by Obina himself, standing tall but calm. I watched you, Obina began, not just how you handled my daughter, but how you handled life. Ebuka waited. Obina continued, if you want to marry her, you must prove you can stand beside her, not just in love, but in legacy. He handed Ebuka a proposal document. There's a business idea I've been saving. I want you to run it. Ebuka blinked in disbelief. I don't need another servant, Obina said. I want a son I can be proud of. The meeting ended, not with hugs, but with mutual respect. Zara waited outside. When Ebuka stepped out, he didn't speak at first. Then he smiled. He called me son. Ebuka poured his heart into the project Chief Obina had given him, a modern agricultural initiative meant to empower local farmers across Nigeria. With Zara by his side, he traveled through rural villages, meeting elders, learning traditions, and connecting old systems with new ideas. They created job opportunities, increased crop yields, and launched local produce into city supermarkets. Slowly, the same hands that once cracked groundnuts by the roadside now signed contracts with investors and community leaders. The media couldn't get enough of them. They were called Nigeria's unlikely power couple. But beyond the headlines, their bond remained rooted in the soil of sincerity. Zara never returned to her father's political dinners. She chose instead to sit beside Ebuka under baobab trees, listening to village tales and sketching ideas for community centers. And Ebuka, he no longer worked in Zara's world. They had built a new world together. One warm Sunday, Chief Obina called for a private family gathering at the mansion. Zara hesitated, but Ebuka assured her. Let's see what he wants to say. When they arrived, the garden was decorated in soft gold and white. Chairs were arranged neatly. Roses framed the path to the old family fountain. Chief Obina stood beside it, his agbada regal, his expression unreadable. Zara, he began, I was wrong to judge your heart. She stepped closer, tears in her eyes. He turned to Ebuka. You've shown me that strength isn't always wrapped in wealth. You earned your place, not through connections, but through courage. Then, in front of gathered family and a few close friends, Obina took Zara's hand and placed it in Ebuka's. I give you my blessing. Even the old guards clapped, and Madame Nena, she wept tears of joy. Their wedding was not held in a cathedral or luxury hall. It took place beneath the open sky of Anambra, where red earth kissed bare feet and palm trees swayed in rhythm with the wind. Zara wore a coral beaded crown and Ebuka wore a white kaftan with pride. The villagers came with drums, the city guests brought cameras, and the ancestors, it was said, danced unseen in the breeze. During the vows, Zara spoke first. I once lived in a palace, she said, but I never felt royal until I found the man who loved me without fear. Ebuka took her hands. I once sold peanuts on the street, he said, but I never felt rich until I found the woman who saw me beyond dust and dreams. They kissed under the orange glow of sunset, and the crowd erupted with joy. The boy from Mushin and the girl from the mansion had rewritten their fates, not by abandoning who they were, but by embracing who they chose to become.